Howdy, sixth graders. Mr. Hahn here, coming to you live from Mathematical World. We're going to have a little fun here with working with some fractions. So if you would take out your notes, I guess under fractions would do well. Let me pull up my screen here. Please, please, please take some concise and accurate notes, because this is something relatively simple, but if you don't catch on, it can be confusing. Here we go. A couple different things. First of all, let me write this down here. Number one, under fractions. Under fractions. We had this come up in assignment a couple days ago, and somebody asked me in sixth grade, asked me about this, and I said, I don't think we've had that before, but I'll bet they're going to come up with it pretty soon. And here is what that is. The directions, well, I guess this is under reducing. Let's just put it under reducing them. Reducing. And so here's what the directions will say. The directions will say to reduce. And it gives you something complicated that looks a little like this. Let me find a good example. 2 times 2 times 3 times 5. 2, and I'll put a little dot there, times 2 times 3 times 5, all over 2 times 2 times 3. 2 times 2 times 3. The only thing you have to do here or realize is that if you have, basically what they did is they made numbers into just these little factors. You know, if you wanted to remultiply this all out, you could get 2 times 2 is 4, times 3 is 12, times 5 is, you'd get 60 over 4 times 3, which is 12, and they'd ask you to reduce that. Well, they're just going to have you reduce it before you multiply. In other words, this. Because these have the same exact factors, you can cross them off one for one with a top with a bottom. It has to be a top with a bottom. I can't cross off 2 tops with each other. So, because basically what you're doing is you're dividing them both by the same number. So here goes, watch. This one cross off, 2 will cross off that 2 down there. This other 2 will cross off with that other 2. This 3 will cross off with this 3, and you're left with just the 5. Now notice that the 5 is on top. The answer to this is just 5. It simplifies, it reduces down to just 5. Now I'm going to give you a different one that looks like this. Write this one down. 2 times 2 times 2 times 5 over 2 times 2 times 3 times 5. 2 times 2 times 3 times 5. Now this one's going to be a little bit different. It's done the same way though. This 2 would cross off with this 2. This 2 would cross off with this 2. There are no more 2's on the bottom to cross off with that 2, so it stays. There's no 3's on top to cross off with that 3, so it stays. This 5 crosses off with this 5, and you are left with a 2 on top and a 3 on the bottom. So this whole thing reduces down to 2/3. And I'm going to give you one more. Let's see if I can find it here. If you were given a problem like this, let's do a third one here. And it was 2 times 2 times 5 on top over 2 times 2 times 3 times 5. 2 times 2 times 3 times 5. Following the same rules we've followed before, we're just going to cross off a 2 on top, crosses off with a 2 on the bottom. A second 2 crosses off with the second 2. There are no 3's on top, but there is a 5 on top here and a 5 on top there. Here is where you have to be careful, sixth grade. Okay, I am left with a 3 on the bottom. Okay, if everything on top crosses off, you must put a 1 up there. Okay, you must put a 1 up there because there has to be something on top of a fraction. If you go back to here, you say, but how come I didn't put a 1 under there? Well, you could put a 1 under there, but 5 over 1 is the same thing as 5, so we don't need to do it there. But on top here, if everything crosses off, we definitely need to put a 1 there. So you have to have that and make that 1/3. So there you go. Now the second thing under fractions here is, and if you want to put it under fractions, maybe I'll just start a new screen here. It's still under fractions, except this is under dividing. And we're going to do this separately because this is very confusing for most people. Write down this problem. The question is, how many 1/2 are in 3/4? How many 1/2 are in 3/4? Now here's another one of those cases, young 5th graders, and I will talk really slowly, so if you want to turn the speed up, or maybe I'll talk really fast, so if you turn the speed up, you're going to get confused. I will talk at a normal speed. How about that? How many 1/2 are in 3/4? Well, that can be an interesting and confusing problem. And as I've told you a few times already, anytime they deal with fractions and I get confused, like I know that I'm probably supposed to do multiplying or dividing or something like that, I always change the fractions to a whole number to see what I would do if it was a whole number. What if I change this to say, how many 3s are in 6? Well, if I asked you that question, how many 3s can you take out of 6? You would probably tell me 2, and I would say, how did you get 2? And you would say, I divide. And what did you divide? You divided 6 divided by 3. Okay, that's what you did to get your answer. Well, you are going to do the exact same operation, except instead you're going to have these fractions here. And notice it was the 6 being divided by the 3. So it's going to be the 3/4 is going to be divided by the 1/2, because the order is important. How many 3s are in 6? How many 1/2 are in 3/4? You want to know how many 1/2 you can get out of 3/4, so that's what you're dividing by. Then you simply follow the rule of division, which is you take your first one and you flip and multiply by the second fraction. I think we've done that before. Haven't we done that? Have we not flipped and multiplied? It sure seems like we have. If not, I'm sure you'll all tell me about that later. So here you go. You flip and multiply by the second one, and what do you get? Multiply across. 3 times 2 is 6. 4 times 1 is 4. And then, as always, the last step of fractions is you have to simplify them, which I have to do both. I have to reduce, divide them both in half. You get 3/2. Then you need to change that to a mixed number, which is 1 and 1/2. Let's do another one. How about this question? How many 3/8 are in 1/2? So here we go. How many 3/8 are in 1/2? Question mark. Same thing applies, you know. Let's say I change this to how many, I don't know, 2s are in 10. How many 2s are in 10? Well, that's 10 divided by 2. The answer is 5. Same thing here. I'm going to take 1/2 and divide it by 3/8. How many 3/8 are in 1/2? And the rule again is to flip and multiply by the reciprocal. That's always the second fraction I flip. When I multiply that out, I get 8/6. I reduce, divide them both by 2. I get 4/3. And I change that to a mixed number, which is 1 and 1/3. And there you have it, 6th graders. You are by far smarter and wiser today than you were even yesterday. Thanks for tuning in. Hope I didn't talk too slow. Hope I didn't talk too fast. I hope the talking was just right. And I will talk to you later.